Now that the NIL program exists, now it's the same thing as the young musician. Now this kid is officially a small business, okay? So us as a community, as a business community, we have to invest in these small businesses as a business for the benefit of potentially employing this person.
Welcome to another episode of Name, Image, and MicNess. I'm your host, Carter Simoneau, founder of the Acadiana Cast Network. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of the show with Dr. Brian Maggard. If this is your first episode that you're checking out, make sure you go listen or watch that episode. There's a lot of great information right out of Dr. Maggard's mouth about how college athletics works, the current state of name, image, and likeness, and how it operates from an athletic standpoint. And folks, that's our goal. What we're trying to do is we're trying to educate and inform folks, and because there's a lot of misconceptions and questions about how NIL operates, and we not only want to educate folks out there, but we want to let you know that it's here to stay, and there's great opportunities for not just student athletes, but for business owners and for fans alike. But we'll also show you how supporting Crew Law and Upper Lafayette will only benefit the Louisiana athletic program, all while we get to know on a deeper level some of our players, coaches, staff members, and the supporters and business community who make up the great Cajun Nation. Now, while that first episode mostly focused on NIL from an athletic standpoint, this episode is focused on the organization that is changing the game when it comes to NIL. Today, we talk with Todd Citron and John Williams. Now, Todd is the owner of Hub City Ford and a board member and founding member of Upper Lafayette, while John Williams is the owner of Quality of Life Services, while also serving as the executive director for Love of People nonprofit, which has a lot of events and initiatives in conjunction with Upper Lafayette, of which he also serves as the executive director. Now, both of these men have been working tirelessly to get the Art of Business program off the ground. We'll talk about that and how their business relationship started and grew to what it is today. But most importantly, you'll hear about how this Art of Business program directly benefits Ragin Cajun student athletes and our business community here in Lafayette and the Acadiana surrounding area. Now, before we get to that conversation, I need to talk to you about our title sponsor of today's episode, and you guessed it, that's right, it's Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation and the Art of Business program. Now, are you a local business looking to make a meaningful impact in your community? Well, welcome to the Art of Business, a personal and professional development program brought to you by Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation, where creativity meets commerce and where your business can be more than just a name. It's a cornerstone of community and economic growth. Upper Lafayette isn't just about networking, folks. It's about building a stronger, more vibrant community where businesses like yours thrive. By joining us, you're not just getting a seat at the table. No, you're becoming a vital part of a movement that supports local art, culture, and economic growth of our area. Now, probably asking, what's in it for you? Well, imagine your business gaining visibility all while contributing to the cultural fabric of Lafayette. Plus, with our strong network of like-minded businesses and community leaders, you'll have endless opportunities to connect, collaborate, and grow alongside creatives, student athletes, and vetted members from our community. Ready to take your business to the next level? Join Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation today and be a part of the Art of Business program. Visit our website at upperlafayette.com or follow us on social media to learn more. Together, let's create a community where business is an art. And now, let's hear it just straight from the horse's mouth themselves. Here's Todd Citron and John Williams. It's so funny seeing both of y'all on this couch together.
It feels funny.
But y'all are no strangers to being close to each other. Y'all known each other for several years. How did y'all meet?
You want me to tell that story?
You can start it and I'll tell the truth.
My father-in-law says some stories are true and some really happened. I think something like that. So my mother got very ill, started to have early sets of dementia. We were desperate as it pertained to healthcare, and some kind of way the Holy Spirit sent us to this rehab hospital for her. And so we went there, and lo and behold, John was her nurse. And I just knew right away when I saw John and met John that we were going to have a lifelong relationship, not without even having a word, actually. And so we met there, and he pulled me aside, or I pulled him aside. I guess it was him pulling me aside, saying, "I can take care of your mother," and we did not want her to be in a nursing home or in a forever hospital, but we wanted her to be at home, and John was able to provide that. So it was a match made in heaven, and a blessing.
That's very, very accurate. And then from my perspective, Todd is the youngest son of 6, and I didn't really know. I didn't know who Marcel Citron was and things. But what I did see was her sons continuously coming in to the hospital and bringing her shoes that they had bought for, or Mom, I saw this scarf, and and I'm like, man, this woman is really sick, but they keep bringing her stuff. I'm like, what are they thinking? And I'm like, they don't know how to take care of this woman. And then one day, Todd passed by, and God literally ripped me out of my chair, and I walked up to him, and I said, "Sir, I believe I can help you take care of your mom." And when I tell you, immediately Todd says, "You're hired." And I'm like, wait, hold on. I said, no, let me go work on something. Let me put a plan together. I think this is a Friday. I said, I'll be in your office on Monday. And sure enough, over the weekend, my mom helped me put together Quality of Life Services over a weekend. And then I went in Todd's office on Monday morning, and that was it. We've been together since.
That's how Quality of Life Services started.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so many people find themselves in this situation, and it's very desperate as a son or a daughter to have your parent get old quick, and Mom was perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden it just happened, and that's how it happens, and it was a blessing. What John offered us was exactly what we were looking for, and I think that his services for anyone that wants to keep their loved one at home, and it's just tailor made, and so that was the beginning of our relationship.
It always blew my mind, man. And you and I never really spoke about it face to face like that. But what made you just bring me on so quick? Like, you're the first person to really believe in me, dude. And you didn't know who I was. It blew my mind.
I'm a huge believer in the Holy Spirit and faith, and a very spiritual guy, and so I'm led by the Spirit, and I have just no questions. I make decisions very quickly on feel, and I knew right away that God had led you to us, and I was 100% sure of that. And that relationship spawned into Curcio and all the other things. John's my spiritual brother, and our relationship is way deeper than business. Upper Lafayette spawned from that as well, John being the executive director. But all of that came from a personal relationship, and I think it all came from Christ. There's no question that he put us together.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and talking about this mentorship that you've helped kind of facilitate with John and over the years, and it's so much of what is going into this Art of Business curriculum that Upper Lafayette is partnering with Courlant on. Can you talk a little bit about what the value of a mentor is?
For me, I come from a family that I had people that inspired me, that taught me well and everything. But when it came to my adulthood and professional life, Todd was truly the first person to give me that chance. And at the time, I didn't know what a mentor really was supposed to be. I never experienced that. And what Todd did for me, a good mentor is somebody that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And you hear that so much as a cliche, but it's so true. Todd has always been that person that he'll poke a hole in 10 holes in my idea. Whether he believes in it or not, he's going to shoot it down. But it gets me in a position of, well, let me keep flipping it and let me make it better. And then it gets to a point where your mentor does have to step out of the way because I'm going to do this anyway.
That's right.
But he did such a great job in poking the holes that when I was ready to step out because I believed in myself, it was solid and ready to roll.
It's weird for me to have you say like that I'm a mentor for you, because I don't look at it like that at all. I mean, it's weird for me to hear that, because I just look at you as a close friend, and our relationship is based on that, and your well-being, and first and foremost your walk towards heaven. I think that's at my forefront when I met you, and the rest of it's going to come. The business part, I just feel like if you're in a state of sanctifying grace and you're doing the things you can, the family, the business, it's going to come. That's natural. And so, another thing for me is always financially for you. I feel like I'm a financial guy. I'm like, John, we have to make money. You have to feed your kids. And so a lot of John's ideas are philanthropic, and he does these things for other people constantly. And I'm like, you have to feed your family, or otherwise you can't feed these other families. And so I think we have a lot of those discussions because John's heart is so big. And I think that he's all in on everything. And I'd like, let's feed your family first. You got to help yourself before you can help others. But again, never ever thought of myself as a mentor for you. I think that's almost comical to me. I just definitely look at you more as a brother, and I see a lot of you and myself. Because Marcel touched both of us. You're one of the other sons. You're the seventh son, and she raised us both. And you were able to see a little bit of her giving back to the community and what she does as a business person. And I think it rubbed off on us
big time, man. She definitely lit me on fire for that next level. She was the one that gave me permission. She was like, John, you use your time, you use your wealth, you use your resources to bless others, and she was like, you won't go wrong. When she told me that, she and I had some of the most clear days, and when this woman would talk to me, and she was giving me I call it giving me the game, and she did that. And what was very interesting was after she passed away, I would talk to Todd every day, For 5 years, 6 years, I spoke to him every day, whether it was about his mom or what was going on. And then after she passed away, we went like 6 months, and maybe I talked to him like once every 3 or 4 weeks. And I said, okay. I picked up the phone one day. I said, hey, man, we've been in each other's lives for like 6 years straight. We're past taking care of your mom. We succeeded, but you're my friend, and I want to make sure that we maintain a relationship. And it wasn't anything about sponsoring anything. It just was, I wanted him in my life. We had really connected, and I'm glad that we were able to come through that as brothers. And
I think and my attitude towards business is that life is short, and there's a lot of baloney in the world, and we got to cut through all that. I hope that's one thing I know that I've tried to emphasize on John a lot, is that don't sweat the small stuff. Don't be afraid to take risk. And let your heart lead, and the Holy Spirit's gonna take care of the rest.
I love how Todd is such a man of Christ, but also the biggest devil's advocate.
Yeah.
What you're saying earlier, he'll not push back, not just to be a contrarian, but it's helpful in business and in your mentorship. But I want to talk about Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation, ULEDF, which is a mouthful, but it was shorthand. We just call it Upper Lafayette.
Yes.
Upper Lafayette. Hashtag.
Thank you, John.
So Upper Lafayette, what, for those who don't know, John, what is it?
Todd can explain where it started, because I think he coined the name, which we're going to have to play with eventually.
It was Herb. It was Herb's idea, and it was his name that he came up with.
Herb Schilling.
We were at Schilling having a meeting. And there was CODA, and there was a North Lafayette group, and they were kind of grumpy. And Herb felt like we needed a positive influence on the north side, and he suggested at that meeting, hey, we should call it Upper Lafayette. And I think not only to designate the region, but also to say, hey, we're for Lafayette, Upper Lafayette. Let's make Lafayette rise to a better level. And so I thought everyone thought that was the weirdest name, and then I do our advertising, and our commercials always ended Hub City Ford, I-49 North Lafayette. And I asked Chris Allen, with Vidox, my cousin, and who does our production, I said, hey, just slip in the word upper in front of Lafayette and let's just do the commercial. No one will notice, but it'll be good for the group, And so he's like, oh, I don't think that's wise. And I said, look, just do it. Let's just see. Nobody's going to say anything. And they ran that first commercial, I-49 North, Upper Lafayette. Holy cow. I mean, it caused quite a stir. I mean, it stuck, and people took some offense to it. The Northside group really took offense to that, like we were downing Northside High or the North Side of Lafayette. That was never our intention. But that's when it really kind of became a household name. And then the association was there to better this side of the parish and the city, and John kind of took it to another level where it's really just to better the northern parishes as well, Grand Coteau in that area. But we did some wonderful things. Jan Swift really made it go. So proud of her. She did a great job, and then John's picked up the ball, and we've run in some different directions. But I love where we're going.
Yeah, and so where are we right now?
So I became executive. That all started in 2005, and then 3 or 4 years ago is when I became executive director. And my first year in, my 1 year anniversary was christened with COVID, so everything shut down. But when I went in and I was talking to Todd and Chris from the beginning, and Herb, I told them, I said, look. I don't want to just bring in member businesses and not have an established purpose. That's kind of leading back towards when Todd's like, John, you need to make sure you're taking care of your family. I don't like selling a dream. I don't like selling a vision. I believe in creating an environment. We establish a purpose and a cause, and then bringing in like-minded people, like-minded businesses that can operate for a goal. And that's what we've done with Upper Lafayette in the organization, in that we've established where our focuses are, member business support services, offering opportunities for people that live in the community throughout all of Lafayette and Acadiana, with job opportunities. And then we also brought in Art of Business Initiative, which is designed to identify, vet, and then refer people for whether it's job opportunities or small business support services and development. We've, for lack of a better word, weaponized Upper Lafayette.
Yeah, I mean, Carter, when we started, it was networking, and we had some wonderful meetings, big attendance. We had a lot of membership. The board was solid. It was a different organization. I looked at it as a watchdog a little bit, waiting for us to take a stand on something that made sense.
Like ordinances or city initiatives?
Like I remember the 1% tax for the airport. That was something that came up at our board that we were split on. I was on the chamber board for a long time, and that was a rough time for me. I'm big pro Lafayette, born and raised, and I just felt like our needs weren't being satisfied as a business community. So it was that, and then a lot of relationships spawned out of that, and we tried to do some development around town. We wanted to bring the Hyman Center on this end, bring arts on this end. Some of those endeavors we weren't able to accomplish, but we did establish ourselves, and I think that when John came along, we went in a different direction, and we needed to, and we did. We became proactive, and I think that through all this time, we were all headed to where we are now with this Art of Business. It started with the Blues Monday, I think, and John said something that always stuck with me, that people who give to this community of their heart, of their mind, of their soul, freely without pay, come to these events where they give and they do rebuilding Acadiana or any of those things. They make amazing employees. And so that stuck with me. And so as an economic foundation, we're able to bring these people in that give back to the community, that are great employees, that the businesses need. We need employees. And then we connected that, into the students, into the seniors and the juniors that are in the athletic program. These are amazing kids that are vetted by their coaches and they're disciplined, they're smart, they're hungry. A lot of them aren't from here and they want to live here, which is great. So, you know, we want to keep them here. So it's a perfect relationship. I'm getting excited about it just talking about it.
It was his fault. You know, Carter is the one that, you know, you take your bow, you deserve it. But I always knew, you know, I played college sports. Todd was the best scorekeeper ever to walk the face of the earth. But I played college sports. I know what it takes to operate on a collegiate level. I didn't do it long at all, but I know what it takes. You know, you have to be committed, dedicated, follow direction. And when you start checking these boxes of what it takes to operate on a college level, I mean, you're looking at potentially what could be the best employee. You're looking at what could potentially be the next community leader. But when these kids are in college and playing ball, you also have to stay very focused on what you're doing. So the way the art of business and connecting with these kids and allowing them the opportunity to meet a mentor and be talked, you know, you can speak with a business owner and you can start to identify other opportunities before you get out of college. You know, unfortunately, when you play college ball, not everybody makes it to the next level.
Very few.
Very few. I mean, the numbers are staggering on how many people don't make it to the next level. But you still have to stay committed to your craft. And that shows another level of dedication, you know. So you can capture these kids coming out of school that have all these skill sets. And then you as a business, you show them what you need them to do, and they already follow direction. They'll be your top seller or your top employee of the month within the first, 6 months.
I think too, John, that most of these kids, because it starts at the age of 4 or 5, whether that's soccer, baseball, football, they're just doing that constantly, and they get so burnt out. And even if they get to the collegiate level, they've pretty much had enough. And unless they're going to go on and play professional, that's it. You know, they're looking for something else to do, and they're more than happy to go into a different field and get away from athletics a little bit. And so I think for us, we want long-term employees. I have 30, 40, 50-year employees at Hub City Ford. That's what we're looking for, and these young people represent that. And I think they do want to stay, and it isn't like corporate America where they're hopscopping all over the place, you know, and moving jobs and always trying to better themselves. You can come and work at Hub City Ford, change jobs inside the store, and become very successful, lay your roots in Lafayette, and raise a family, and people want to be here, you know. So that's what we offer, and we're not the only ones. There's a bunch of these companies that are in Upper Lafayette that feel the way I do.
Yeah. And that's the whole purpose of it, bringing these companies together to join our organization so that you have the opportunity yourself to tap into these people.
Yeah, and just kind of rewinding a little bit, this whole art of business thing, it originally started kind of what Ty was alluding to with, Blue Monday, but with creatives, with musicians. Can you speak a little bit about, how that kind of started?
Yeah.
Without getting too deep into the weeds.
Well, the
John loves music.
I love it.
We'll start with that.
And taking care.
I mean, don't we all in South Louisiana?
Absolutely, but he's on a different level.
Well, look, taking care of old people is what I do. And so when I started seeing these older musicians who worked for cash their whole life, not having retirements, not having 401ks, I really tried to impact that. But, it's so far gone. It's so difficult. It would take so much money really to impact those older people and everything that they need. And we've helped a whole lot of people. But prevention is really key. And so Art of Business came from, okay, if I take a younger musician through Upper Lafayette, we create an LLC for them, teach them how to operate as a business. So now we're economic impact. We're creating small businesses. Hook them up with CPAs, learn how to pay taxes, learn how to, expense accounts and how to write things off. Give them that business acumen.
And then also from their career, pairing them up with musicians who've been there, done that, and it's a shady business. And so to be able to talk with those cats about some of the mistakes that they made, or watch out for this, look out for that, added to the economic and business development side of things, it's so great for those guys.
Every musician is an entrepreneur. They're self-employed, right? And so it's business at its roots. And so, it's that teaching a kid how to be an entrepreneur, how to be self-sufficient, how to create a business. You nailed all those things. And, most of these kids either have a single parent or no parent sometimes. And so they're looking for mentorship, and they're looking to stay in Lafayette. It is an eye-opener for me because of the arts, because of the music and because of the culture and the family environment that we provide. It's a unique opportunity, and I'm so excited to be plugged into the university because it's a special place.
We'll be right back to the conversation with Todd Citron and John Williams in just a minute. But first, you want to know how you can impact the lives of UL student athletes? Well, you can support Crew Along, the NIL collective for Louisiana athletics. Crew Along provides Ragin Cajun student athletes opportunities to build their personal brands while engaging with our community. For as little as $10 a month, that's like a monthly subscription to Netflix. Well, that's less than what Netflix costs these days. You can help Louisiana athletics separate itself from the competition for just $10 a month, or however much you want to donate. Invite your friends and family to join the crew and support Ragin Cajun student athletes. Visit crewalong.com today to get started. That's KREWEALLONS.com to get started. Together, we will make a difference. Now, let's head back to Todd and John.
I saw what you were doing with Art of Business with these creatives. I'm a massive sports fan, and I see a disconnect with sports fans, and at least here in Acadiana, but it's not just here, it's all over the country. But there's a disconnect with, especially the older generation, is like, why should I pay a college athlete? They're amateurs,
Absolutely.
But I don't want to just give this kid a $20,000 check. Okay, how about plugging him into this curriculum, this program? I saw it as a no-brainer for these kids.
That's the art of business. So you flip it on its head, and now you have these college athletes. Mm-hmm. And thank God, finally, these kids can get paid because schools have made billions and billions of dollars. And while these kids are walking around with $5 in their pocket, thank God the schools do offer them a lot of support, medical support and free food and everything like that. But
gives them an education and an opportunity.
Exactly. But now that the NIL program exists, now it's the same thing as the young musician. Now this kid is officially a small business, okay? So us as a community, as a business community, we have to invest in these small businesses as a business for the benefit of potentially employing this person once they're available.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a huge college fan as well, sports, football, basketball, baseball, you name it. And so this is great because we have this discussion amongst our friends. NIL is a 4-letter word. You look at Texas A&M that went out and paid for all these players, and then it all fell apart. You're asking college kids to do professional things they can't do. So nobody liked it, and everybody liked, I like the way things used to be. Well, sure, we did, but the kids did, right?
No.
So that's no good for them. But this was born out of that thought: is that can this work for everyone? And so what I'm excited about is that I never, like as an advertiser, what a worthless deal. If I'm an LSU or UL fan, I want to hand some kid some money just so we can be successful and win more games. Well, that's no good. And what's he going to give me? Is kid's going to say, hey, I like this car, go buy it? No. And then what's he going to do goofy that doesn't represent your company well? So we've seen that happen. But what I always wanted was the walk-on kid, was the kid that was a hard worker, was the kid that was needy. And this is where the idea really of Art of Business, from my portion, John had his own ideas, but for me, that was my idea, was to go out and find these awesome kids and plug them in. And I think we're going to do that.
Oh, we're going to slam dunk it, dude. And just to reiterate, to drive that point home, it's not just that star quarterback or that star pitcher that we bring into the Art of Business. This is for all the kids that are involved on this team. Just to make it to a college level and sit the bench, you still have some fire attributes that every business could utilize. So it's not like I call it the Michael Vick phenomenon. And you've heard that story, but I'll go ahead and say it publicly. It's like, I'm not going to give a kid from the hood or from the country that don't know any better $1 million, with Michael Vick. You give Michael Vick $1 million, but don't give him any education on personal finance, he's going to buy fighting dogs and get in trouble. That's the goofy part that they end up doing. But you take that same Michael Vick, you give him $1 million, but you put him in the art of business, and I believe Michael Vick would have then built rescue shelters for dogs as opposed to fighting them.
Mm-hmm. And so we're rolling a lot of this stuff out, but there's been some, lack of a better term, some guinea pigs. We can talk about KC Osai in a little bit. He has an episode coming up on this. So we had a great conversation. But John, you don't have to mention the player's name, but KC brought a group of players, his culture team, to Bell's Tower, business you own, a day space for people with dementia. Kind of clean the place up, do some yard work, helps some of the interior. And tell me, tell folks about this kind of conversation you had with this kid who, once he's done college, he basically knew one thing to do.
So it was interesting. It happened a couple of times, and I can kind of do both at the same time. But these guys, they were like from Mississippi, playing on UL football team, and he comes from a single parent home. So he grew up watching his mom work 2-3 jobs, trying to support he and his 2 older brothers, and she's running from job to job, and one of the brothers is getting in trouble because mom's not home, and that's why he started throwing himself into sports, because he didn't want to end up on the street. And then so he became a young star athlete, and he's working his way up. Now he's playing in college, and he flat out tells me, "Hey, I know I'm not going to the NFL." And he looks at me and says, "But I know I'm not going back home," because he knew that if he went back to the house he grew up in, it was one chance he was going to end up getting in trouble, And so he chose that. He said, "I'm going to go to the Army." And in that moment, and I say this wholeheartedly, I mean, thank you to every armed forces person. I mean, we need it, and I'm not trying to take away from that. But if a kid in this position is choosing to go to the Army simply because they don't have any other choice, that's a problem. So in the moment, I asked him, I said, "Son, is that something that you really want to do?" And he was like, "No, I just don't know anything else to do. And I don't want to go back home, and I don't want to struggle like my mom had to struggle. I want to make sure I can provide for myself and my future family." And I'm looking at him, and he's out here weeding the flower beds, sweating as hot as all get out. And so I know you're ready to work. And then so I tell them about Hub City Ford and their program that they have about sending you to school, learning to work on Fords, the amount of money you can make come out, insurance, benefits, and, ways to move up. And the light bulb went off on this kid's head. He graduates in December, and he's running to Hub City Ford.
Yeah.
Todd owes me $10,000 for that.
Well,
but,
yeah, at least. Minimum.
I mean, and talking to Coach and some of the staff with the Cajuns, they're talking about how this, they're seeing how this art of business program can also be used as a recruitment tool. I mean, think about it. If you're the parent of a kid and choosing between 2 different schools, and one school, has a great program and has some NIL opportunities, but the other school, great program, but also has NIL opportunities with something like this art of business program. I don't have any kids, but I feel like I want to point my kid to that school.
Yeah. If he couldn't fix the car, though, you owe me $10,000.
Hey, I'll get it out of him. I'll put him weed and flower beds.
Now, Carter, I think they call them the Group of 5, the FBS, the big schools. They're going to give money for recruits, and it's a different level, right?
The Power 4 now,
right?
And then UL would be in the Group of 5.
Yeah. So that group, for me, that is a niche for them because they can't afford to pay these recruits. UL has admitted they just want to keep the good kids they have, and I think that's a good way to look at NIL for them. And so, in order to offer something that the others aren't, right? Everybody needs a niche in business. And that's going to be UL's niche, is that they're offering these kids way beyond, college. They're giving them a connection to the community and a job opportunity and schooling on how to live life. And for me, it's always the spiritual side. What greater place than Acadiana for a faith-based, person to raise their family and dig in on their faith. KC Osai is our guy. and he has blown me away with his faith, and it's an example for all, and these kids are good examples, and I think when they dig into their faith and all the things we have to offer, you go to any church in Lafayette, it's always packed, and that just creates waves. I mean, I do believe that Lafayette's the hub city of the whole country and of the whole world as it pertains to Catholicism, and Jerusalem is called the hub city. And most people don't know that, but there's no coincidence there. So this is the Holy Land, and that's the way I look at it.
Hey, look,
There's
man,
a very spiritual side.
I will echo that 100%. I believe with my whole heart that Lafayette specifically and Acadiana, the culture we have here, the people we have here, what better place to build this art of business initiative. And I do believe, to Coach Dez's and Dr. Maggott's point, I know that this program is going to impact all of NIL throughout the country. Mm-hmm. Just being able to give these kids this much faith and investment, which turns around and blesses businesses. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
And Todd, we were joking around earlier, you being a contrarian and whatnot, but when we first started having these conversations, you put on your business cap and you start looking at it sideways a little bit. But can you talk from the perspective of a business owner getting to engage with a person like a Casey Osai and what that experience was like for you?
It's a blessing, is the way I would say it. I asked Casey to be on our radio show on Cajun Catholics, and you've been a guest, and you guys both blow me away. I mean, the faith of the youth of Acadiana is beautiful. And he's from Nigeria. He says a rosary every day. He's got one on his rearview mirror. I mean, this kid gets up at 5 a.m. and starts praying. There's no secret to his success. And so, that inspires me. They need mentorship when it comes. Now that I will stick my chest out and say, yes, I want to be a mentor in a faith way to these guys, and hopefully, and I get just as much as I get, way more than they would, But that's a guy you want in Lafayette forever. I mean, this is a leader and a true leader, and all the principles of Christianity come through in sports. That's what I love about sports. I have come to not like sports so much because of the way things are, and I don't watch pro sports that much anymore. But that's the beauty of sports for me, is hearing the story behind the story. These kids are real people. They come from real homes, and they live in the real world.
Yeah.
Todd had me laughing at the beginning of this NIL thing. He tells me, he said, so I go in there and I'm telling him, hey, I'm going to get involved with the NIL stuff. And he says, oh, no, I don't want nothing to do with that. He says, some guy from UL calls me, he says, hey, I want to be in a hub city for a commercial. How much you going to pay me?
That's right.
The
day they announced NIL.
And to me, it was just the most, ghetto way of approaching a business owner ever.
That was not going to happen. And it was, I came back from Rotary, and he may have been at Rotary. I forgot how that. I think he was a guest speaker or something. But anyway, I'm like, lose my number, dude. Not interested.
So in that moment, Todd was totally disenchanted with NIL. In that moment, for me, I'm like, these kids need to be taught and mentored how to do an interview, how to address, a superior or in a professional setting, not just a sports setting. So that's when it started firing off of me. And then after he meets KC and we do the Calvin James Man of the Year award for KC, KC gets this electric car that he uses until he's finished here at UL. And Todd gets a call about 2 weeks after we give KC the car. And this kid calls, and Todd answers the phone. He says, hey, Mr. Todd, I saw the car that KC got, and Todd, no more cars. We don't have any more cars.
I want a car, too.
No more cars.
No,
and he said,
there's no more cars.
He says, no, sir. He said, I'm calling because I'd like to work over there. I'd like to be a car dealer over there. So to point out another benefit for a business getting involved with Upper Lafayette and our art of business to address NIL, that was proof in pudding right there. The more we can interact with these kids, get them involved with our businesses, getting our secretaries even involved, not only will we increase support for the school, but they will already be acclimated to our business. They'll know who we are once they get out.
Yeah.
and they coming straight knocking.
Yeah, and you have a vetted guy like a KC who gets approved to kind of receive these blessings from a business, and he passes that on. But obviously he didn't just say like, oh yeah, you can get a car too. Like Casey probably said something like, well, this is kind of what they're doing.
He's been leading every volunteer, because this is accountability based system. We're not handing out anything. You got to show up, you got to earn it, you got to want it. And our first run at this, KC has truly been that channel partner in a way. He's bringing these kids.
I mean, is KC 1 in a million, or are there a lot of KCs? That's the question I'm asking.
I can't wait
myself.
to find out.
But the Holy Spirit found us and put us together, because we didn't pick KC. He just kind of surfaced, and I just want to know how many other KCs are there. I mean, this guy is special.
Well, if I had to guess, there's many.
You'll see in the interview with Coach Des, and you kind of talked about it earlier because he's spoken about it before, but he's vetting these kids. He's bringing in certain high character athletes, and building a program around that. So, and he's not the only coach at UL doing that.
Yeah.
So something tells me there's a few more KCs out there.
That has been a true blessing for me, getting involved with UL sports. In all honesty, once I stopped playing sports, I never had the mind to let me remember your name or what year, how many home runs. Man, I will not remember that kind of stuff. But getting involved on this level, seeing the dedication of these coaches and the way that they truly do love these kids, and it's a blessing for us that once these kids finish playing, is no more take their name off the board and drop it in the trash because now you need to focus on your next year's team. Is no more of that. I'm sure, and I can't wait to really start interviewing these coaches myself, I'm sure it's a gut punch when you got to pull that nameplate off and know that that kid is never playing for you again. But now, instead of pulling that nameplate off and throwing it in the trash, they hand it over to Art of Business up at Lafayette, baby. And they'll know that those kids are still being trained, still being pushed, and still being held accountable and living good lives.
Yeah, so if you're a business around Acadiana and you're hearing this and something strikes a nerve or sparks something, how do they get involved?
UpperLafayette.com. You can find us our website there. There's all the contact information is at UpperLafayette.com. We're going to start populating our YouTube channel at Upper Lafayette once we get it from Todd, full of Hub City Ford commercials. I don't even think he's aware of that. Do you all your you tell that's intentional? You're the man. Huh?
Well, I mean, again, we ran with Upper Lafayette. It's been really a blessing for us, and all I can say is, we need to plug in businesses into this art of business because it is the future of Lafayette. It's something we can all hang our hat and be very proud of, and so I'm really looking forward to being a big part of it.
Finally got one.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys sitting down, and it's been really cool working with both of y'all and kind of seeing this thing grow and working with these athletes and the coaches and staff and getting to know some of these people behind the scenes, and there's so much that goes into it. I'm really excited with Name, Image, and MicNess, the name of the show, to really promote and showcase and highlight some of these things that we're doing with Art of Business and what Career Law is doing and these athletes. Where do you see the show going? What give a folks, because you're the executive producer, John.
Yeah.
Give a folks a little tease of some of the
John, where are you going with all this?
Some of the content that they'll be seeing down the line.
Look, man, I'm kind of highfalutin and spoiled, so I love access to things, I love going backstage of things. I love being behind the scenes, to Todd's point, really getting to know people. And that's what I'm excited about Name, Image, and MicNess podcast, is that, Dr. Maggard and UL Athletic Department, they're giving us all access, to fields, to coaches, to players. We're able to really authentically connect with what's going on at UL. I'm really excited about you being able to get in there, connect with people, be able to point them in the direction of where progress, their future, and can happen. And I'm really excited about the home games. Doing your Carter's just a great interviewer, dude. And I'm very excited to see you do your thing. And then we also have the Tailgate Talk. I'm waiting on a sponsorship from my partner right here. But and I want you to, and it's fine, we can do this right now, but because it goes to show you of what name, image, and MicNess can do in that Tailgate Talk component. Danny Kober at the used car side. He and his brother have been going to every UL game for...
Danny's been working for Hub City for 50 years.
This year is his 50th year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And he and his brother have been going to every UL home game for, I think it's like something stupid, like
probably
40 years or something like that. Tailgating every year. Well, for the first Tailgate Talk, I want Danny Kober to be the person that we sit down and talk about on the tailgate too.
Yeah.
And
they've given so much to our community. They come and do our steak supper for the Rotary Club, and they've just done. They did FoodNet forever. They cooked everything at all the food drives. These guys are selfless, so
yeah,
just good people.
So through this podcast and the content that we're developing with the Tailgate Talks and all kind of stuff that's coming down the pipe, we'll be able to kind of tell those stories and showcase the people in this community who have been there, done that, been the backbone of Lafayette for so long that just haven't gotten their shine.
Yeah,
and it's not just about what's happening on the field of play. We're highlighting so many different elements and really showing Lafayette going up, Upper Lafayette.
That's it.
Yeah, losing my father-in-law, it wasn't my father, it was my father-in-law, but almost all of the vendors that we use at the dealership showed up over at the funeral. They didn't have to do that, and it was never about business, It's just compassion and good people, and that's where we live, and these people came and were genuinely showed compassion, and I appreciate that, and that's where we live. That's who we are. It's beautiful. You don't see that in other places.
Well, Todd Citron with Hub City Ford, John Williams with Quality of Life Services, both with Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation. Gentlemen, appreciate you. Excited to work together and grow this thing and bring it to the moon.
Let's do it,
baby.
All right.
I'm with it.
Well, that will mostly do it for this episode of Name, Image, and MicNess. But before we go, we got some housekeeping to do. Our next episode features head football coach Michael Desermo. We get to know Coach a little more on a personal level and really get into how NIL affects recruiting, most importantly for these guys, retention of student athletes, specifically in football. We'll also get a little preview of the season to come. This episode is dropping the week before week 1 while we host Grambling. It's going to be a great game, great atmosphere, and Coach gets us hyped for the season. But before we go, we want to thank our sponsor of today's episode, Upper Lafayette Economic Development Foundation and their Art of Business program. We've talked all about it today, but reminder, if you're a business owner in Acadiana, head to upperlafayette.com to learn more about how to get involved. We also want to remind folks to support Cruel Lawns Win with 10 campaign. As Dr. Maggard put it, if we don't, we won't. Visit cruellawn.com to get started. We got so much great content coming your way in the coming weeks and months, not just on the podcast, but some bonus content that you'll see on social media, on the Upper Lafayette YouTube page. But we need your support, folks. The easiest way to help is simply by subscribing. You can subscribe if you like watching to the Upper Lafayette YouTube channel, or if you like listening in your car, at work, maybe while you're cutting the grass, while it hopefully gets a little less hot here in Acadiana. You can do so on Apple Podcast, Spotify. Make sure you subscribe, rate the show, give us 5 stars. Why not? It can only help us grow, and it's going to get you guys better content. You'll be alerted when new episodes come out. It just makes it easier for you right on your phone. You can also learn more about new episodes by following Acadiana Cast and Upper Lafayette and Cruel Law on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those different social media apps, whichever one you prefer. You'll find some sort of content specifically from Acadiana Cast as we grow, and you'll get to learn some more about our other shows over at Acadiana Cast. But we'll be taking a bit of a hiatus. I'm not cutting that out. It's podcasting, folks. You can get a little rough around the edges. But taking a hiatus from the show for a few weeks. Basically, what we're trying to do is, promote these first 4 episodes of Name, Image, and MicNess while also putting some more pieces together, because ultimately, in just a little bit, you'll be able to get a new episode every single week coming out on Wednesdays. That's video, that's audio. You'll have your clips as well for those who follow along on social media. But we hope that you listen and watch the whole episodes, folks. It really helps us grow, and I'm just excited to see where this thing goes and grow the show and get to know specifically these student athletes on a personal level. I've gotten to know a few over the past few months through this Art of Business program, like a Casey Osai, whose episode is coming up in episode 4. They're really, really great humans, and a lot of them just want to stay here in Acadiana, and who wouldn't? So we can help them do that and create a better community here and support the program while these kids are playing on the field, on the court, on the diamond, wherever they play their respective sports. But once again, stay tuned, subscribe, like, and let's grow this thing together. That's a wrap for this episode. Enjoy the ride, and go Cajuns.